The morning sun on Kepler 442b painted the sky a strange purple color that Dr. Amanda Walsh still found beautiful after 3 years. She stood outside the Human Research Station, drinking her coffee and watching the alien birds fly between the crystal trees. The coffee was real Earth coffee, shipped from home at great expense, and it reminded her why she loved working so far from civilization. Amanda was the head scientist at the colony. She studied alien life forms and had discovered over 200 new species since arriving. The work was dangerous but exciting. Every day brought something new to learn about this strange world. Her team was small but skilled. Kyle Martinez knew everything about alien plants and could identify any species just by looking at its leaves. Lisa Thompson was their security chief, a former military officer who kept everyone safe during field trips. Jake Harrison handled all communications with Earth and other colonies scattered across the galaxy. The four of them had become close friends during their time on Kepler 442b. They worked well together and trusted each other completely. This trust would soon be tested in ways none of them could imagine. Amanda finished her coffee and walked back into the station. The main lab was buzzing with activity as her team prepared for another day of research. Kyle was examining samples of blue moss that glowed in the dark. Lisa was checking their equipment and weapons. Jake was reading messages from other colonies and research stations. "Any interesting news from the outside world?" Amanda asked Jake as she sat down at her desk. Jake frowned at his computer screen. "Actually, yes. Something strange is happening on Tau CDC. The wildlife there is disappearing. The colonists sent a report saying that entire forests are going silent. No birds, no insects, nothing." "Disease, maybe?" Kyle suggested, looking up from his moss samples. "That's what they thought at first," Jake replied. "But there are no bodies. The animals are just gone. Like they vanished into thin air." Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. In her years of studying alien worlds, she had learned that when ecosystems suddenly went quiet, it usually meant something very dangerous was nearby. "Any other reports like this?" Jake scrolled through his messages. 3 more colonies in the past week, all reporting the same thing: animals disappearing without a trace. The Galactic Council is sending investigation teams. Lisa walked over to join the conversation. "Could be poachers. Some alien species pay big money for rare animals." "Poachers don't usually clean out entire planets," Amanda said. "This sounds like something else. Something we haven't seen before." The conversation was interrupted by an alarm from their sensor array. Kyle jumped up and ran to the monitoring station. "We're getting strange energy readings from the northern forest. Very high levels of exotic particles." Amanda grabbed her field pack. "Let's go take a look. Lisa, bring the heavy scanners. Kyle, pack some sample containers. Jake, monitor communications and let us know if you hear anything else about these disappearances." The northern forest was a 30-minute ride from the station. Amanda drove the hover vehicle while Lisa and Kyle checked their equipment. The forest was one of her favorite places on the planet. The trees were tall and silvery, with leaves that chimed like bells in the wind. Strange flowers bloomed in colors that had no names on Earth. But as they approached the forest edge, Amanda noticed something wrong. The usual sounds of alien birds and insects were missing. The forest was completely silent. "This is not good," Lisa muttered, checking her weapon for the 3rd time. They parked the vehicle and walked into the forest on foot. Kyle's scanner was beeping constantly, showing energy readings unlike anything they had seen before. The readings were strongest near the center of the forest, where the oldest and largest trees grew. "Look at this," Kyle whispered, pointing to a massive tree that had been there for hundreds of years. The tree was completely gray and lifeless. Its silver bark had turned black, and all its leaves had fallen off. Amanda touched the bark gently. It crumbled under her fingers like ash. "It's been drained of all life force. But how?" They moved deeper into the forest, finding more dead trees and plants. Whatever had done this was thorough and efficient. It had sucked the life out of everything in its path. Lisa's scanner began picking up movement ahead. "Something's coming," she said quietly. raising her weapon. The air in front of them began to shimmer like heat waves. Slowly, a shape began to form. It was dark and fluid, like liquid shadow, with bright blue spots that pulsed like hearts. The creature was roughly humanoid but constantly shifting and changing shape. "What is that thing?" Kyle whispered. Before anyone could answer, the creature moved toward a small tree nearby. As it got close, the tree began to wither and die. The creature seemed to be absorbing its life energy through some kind of invisible connection. Amanda's communication device crackled to life. It was Jake, and he sounded panicked. "Amanda, get out of there now. I just received a priority message from the Galactic Council. Those creatures are called Vorthak. They're the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. No species has ever survived an encounter with them." The creature suddenly turned toward the humans. Its blue spots pulsed brighter, and Amanda could feel a strange coldness in the air. The Vorthak began moving toward them with fluid, hypnotic movements. Lisa fired her weapon, but the energy beam passed right through the creature without effect. "My weapons are useless," she shouted. "Run!" Amanda yelled, but her feet felt heavy and slow. The creature was doing something to them, making them feel weak and afraid. Kyle fell to his knees, overwhelmed by terror. Lisa was backing away but seemed unable to move quickly. The Vorthak was getting closer, and Amanda could see something like hunger in its glowing spots. Jake's voice came through the communicator again, full of static and fear. "The Council says 3 entire civilizations have been wiped out by these things. You have to get out of there." But Amanda couldn't move. The creature was almost close enough to touch, and she could feel her strength draining away just from being near it. The Vorthak raised what might have been an arm, reaching toward. Her face, everything seemed to slow down. Amanda thought about her team, her research, all the discoveries still waiting to be made. She thought about Earth and her family back home. She thought about how unfair it was to die so far from everything she loved. And then something inside her got angry, really angry. The Vorthak was now only inches away from her face, its dark form pulsing with stolen life energy. Amanda could feel its cold touch beginning to drain her strength. But she was done being afraid. Amanda felt the cold touch of the Vorthak against her skin. The creature's dark form was so close she could see the blue lights pulsing inside it like a heartbeat. Her strength was leaving her body, flowing into the monster like water down a drain. But anger burned inside her chest, hot, fierce anger that pushed back against the cold fear. She was tired of being scared. She was tired of watching this thing destroy everything beautiful in the forest. Most of all, she was tired of feeling helpless. Without thinking, Amanda pulled back her right hand and slapped the Vorthak across what looked like its face. The sound echoed through the silent forest like a gunshot. Amanda's palm stung from the contact, which surprised her since Lisa's energy weapon had passed right through the creature. The Vorthak made a sound like breaking glass mixed with a scream. It jerked backward as if Amanda had hit it with lightning. The blue lights inside its body flickered and dimmed. The creature stumbled, its dark form losing shape and becoming fuzzy around the edges. Then it ran away. The most dangerous predator in the galaxy, the thing that had destroyed 3 entire civilizations, turned and fled into the forest like a scared animal. Amanda stood there with her hand still raised, staring at the empty space where the monster had been. Kyle and Lisa were on the ground behind her, both looking shocked and confused. "What just happened?" Kyle whispered, slowly getting to his feet. Lisa was checking her scanner with shaking hands. "It's gone. The energy readings are moving away. Fast. Really fast." Amanda looked at her right hand. It was red from slapping the creature, but otherwise normal. "I hit it. I actually hit it. Your weapon passed right through that thing," Kyle said to Lisa. "But Amanda could touch it?" "Not just touch it," Lisa replied, still staring at her scanner. "She heard it. Look at these readings. Its energy levels dropped by 60% after she hit it." Jake's voice crackled through their communicators, full of panic. "What's happening out there? I'm getting crazy readings from your location. Are you all alive?" "We're fine," Amanda said, though she wasn't sure that was true. "The creature is gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "Nothing makes those things leave once they start feeding." Amanda looked at her teammates. They were all staring at her like she had just performed magic. "I'll explain when we get back. We need to return to the station and figure out what just happened." The ride back was quiet. Kyle kept looking at Amanda like she might explode. Lisa was running every scan she could think of, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Amanda drove in silence, replaying the moment over and over. In her mind, she had been terrified. The creature was draining her life away. But underneath the fear, there had been something else. Anger, yes, but also something protective. She had thought about her team, about all the innocent life forms on this planet, about her family back on Earth. The idea of this monster hurting them had made her furious, and then she had acted on pure instinct. No thought, no plan, just the simple human response to a bully. She had hit it. Back at the station, Jake met them at the door. His face was pale and he was holding a tablet full of messages. "I've been getting reports from all over the galaxy. Something incredible is happening." "What kind of reports?" Amanda asked, settling into her chair. Her legs were still shaky from the encounter. "Vorthak attacks have stopped. Everywhere. Colonies that were under attack report that the creatures just left. No explanation, they just vanished." Kyle was examining the data from their encounter. "The timing matches perfectly. Right when Amanda hit that thing, attacks stopped across multiple star systems." "That's impossible," Lisa said. "How could hitting one creature affect others light years away?" Amanda thought about it. In her years of studying alien life, she had learned that many species were connected in ways humans didn't understand. Some shared collective consciousness. Others communicated across vast distances instantly. "Maybe they're all connected somehow," she suggested. "Like a hive mind or neural network." Jake was scrolling through more messages. "There's something else. The Galactic Council is demanding to know what happened. They're sending a ship here to investigate." "Let them come," Amanda said. "But first, we need to understand this ourselves." Over. The next few hours, Kyle ran every test he could think of on the scanner data from their encounter. Lisa analyzed the energy patterns. Jake collected reports from across the galaxy. The picture that emerged was strange and wonderful. The Vorthak had been feeding on fear, not just the life energy of their victims, but specifically the terror and helplessness that came with facing certain death. When Amanda had fought back instead of giving in to fear, she had disrupted their feeding mechanism. "Look at this," Kyle said, pointing to his computer screen. "Your bioelectric signature changed completely when you got angry. Instead of the fear patterns the creature was feeding on, you generated something totally different." "What kind of patterns?" Amanda asked. "Protection, defiance. The brain waves of someone refusing to be a victim." Lisa was studying her weapon readings, and somehow, those patterns made you able to physically interact with the creature, like your anger gave you a way to touch something made of pure energy. Jake was reading reports from other colonies. "There are stories here about humans having unusual reactions to Vorthak encounters. A trader on Rigel Station fought one off with a chair. A family on New Texas scared 3 of them away by shouting at them." "All humans?" Amanda asked. "Every single report. No other species has ever successfully resisted them." Amanda thought about human history. Humans had always been fighters. When faced with predators, they didn't just run or hide. They fought back. They used tools, worked together, and refused to give up even when the odds were impossible. Other species in the galaxy seemed to have evolved differently. When they met something stronger, they submitted or fled. It was a sensible survival strategy that had worked for millions of years, but it hadn't prepared them for the Vorthak. "We need to test this," Amanda said. "Carefully and safely. But we need to understand exactly what's happening." "Are you crazy?" Lisa asked. "You want to go looking for more of those things?" "Not looking for them. But if one shows up, we need to be ready, and we need to document everything." Jake's communicator chimed with an urgent message. "The Galactic Council ship will be here in 2 days. They're bringing representatives from 12 different species." Amanda nodded. "Good. They'll want to know how we did it." But more importantly, we need to find out if we can teach others to do the same thing. Kyle was still staring at the scanner data. Amanda, do you realize what this means? Humans might be the key to stopping the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. With a slap, Lisa added, shaking her head in amazement. Amanda looked out the window at the alien forest. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak was probably still running. The thought made her smile. For the first time in galactic history, the hunters had become the hunted. 2 days passed quickly at the research station. Amanda and her team worked around the clock, trying to understand what had happened in the forest. Kyle spent hours studying the scanner data from their encounter with the Vorthak. Lisa tested every piece of equipment they had, looking for clues about how Amanda had been able to touch the creature. Jake monitored communications from across the galaxy, collecting reports of similar incidents. The news was getting stranger by the day. Listen to this, Jake said during their morning meeting. A human merchant on Centauri Prime scared off 5 Vorthak by waving a wrench at them and yelling. The creatures fled immediately. Any injuries? Amanda asked. None. The merchant said he was just angry that they were disrupting his business. He didn't even know what they were until afterward. Lisa shook her head in amazement. A wrench, not even a weapon, just a tool. Kyle looked up from his computer. I've been analyzing the brain scan data from Amanda's encounter. When she got angry and protective, her neural activity spiked in very specific areas. The parts of the brain that handle defiance and the urge to protect others. What about fear? Amanda asked. I was definitely scared. You were, Kyle agreed. But the fear was mixed with something stronger. Determination. The refusal to let something bad happen to people you care about. Jake's communicator buzzed with another report. Here's another one. A human family on Vega Station fought off a pack of Vorthak using kitchen knives and loud voices. The creatures retreated after 5 minutes. Kitchen knives, Lisa repeated. Against energy beings that can phase through matter. Amanda was starting to see a pattern. It's not about the weapons, it's about the attitude. Every human who fought them off was protecting something or someone. But why only humans? Kyle asked. Other species must feel protective instincts too. Before anyone could answer, their long-range sensors detected an approaching ship. It was massive, built by the Galactic Council and carrying representatives from multiple alien civilizations. Amanda watched through the window as it landed near their research station, kicking up clouds of purple dust. The first alien to exit the ship was Ambassador Zeth Ka, a tall, graceful being from the Andalite Confederation. Amanda had met his species before during diplomatic meetings. They were intelligent and peaceful, but always seemed nervous around humans. Behind him came representatives from 11 other species. Amanda recognized a few of them from her xenobiology studies. There was a crystal-based silicoid, a plant like Verdani, and several others she had only seen in textbooks. Dr. Walsh, Ambassador Zethka said as the group approached. His voice was musical but tense. We have come to understand what happened here. The entire galaxy is talking about your encounter with the Vorthak. Please come inside, Amanda replied. We'll share everything we've learned. The aliens filled the main lab of the research station. Some stood, others sat in chairs designed for their different body types. All of them watched Amanda with expressions that ranged from curiosity to fear. Show us, said Counselor Het Rim, a reptilian being from the Saurian Republic. Demonstrate how you defeated the Vorthak. I can't demonstrate without a Vorthak present, Amanda explained, but I can show you the data we collected. Kyle activated the main display screen and showed the energy readings from their encounter. The aliens studied the information carefully, making sounds of amazement and confusion. Impossible, whispered the silicoid representative, whose crystalline body chimed like bells when she spoke. The energy patterns show that you actually made physical contact with a phase-shifted entity. How? Asked the Verdani, whose leaf-like appendages rustled with agitation. Our best scientists have studied the Vorthak for centuries. They exist partially outside normal space-time. Physical contact should be impossible. Amanda looked at her teammates, then back at the alien visitors. We think it has to do with human brain chemistry. When we experience certain emotions, particularly protective anger, our bioelectric patterns change in ways that seem to affect the Vorthak. Protective anger? Ambassador Zethka repeated the word slowly. Explain this concept. Lisa stepped forward. When humans see something threatening people they care about, they don't just feel fear. They feel the need to fight back, to defend others even if it means risking their own lives. The aliens exchanged glances. Several of them made sounds that Amanda had learned meant confusion or disbelief. You do not flee? Asked Counselor Hetrim. When faced with a superior predator, your instinct is to attack rather than escape? Sometimes, Amanda admitted, especially when running away means leaving others in danger. Jake had been monitoring communications during the meeting. I'm getting more reports. Humans across the galaxy are having success against Vorthak using simple confrontational tactics. A construction worker in the Outer Rim drove off 3 of them by throwing his hard hat and shouting. A teacher on New Geneva protected her students by standing in front of them and refusing to move. The silicoid made a sound like breaking glass. This is unprecedented. In our recorded history, no species has ever shown aggression toward a Vorthak. The natural response is paralysis followed by submission. Natural for you, maybe, Lisa said, but humans evolved differently. We had to fight to survive on Earth. Predators, harsh weather, other human tribes. Running away wasn't always an option. Kyle brought up another display showing human brain scans. When Amanda encountered the Vorthak, the protective centers of her brain activated simultaneously with the fear centers. Instead of pure terror, she experienced what we might call protective fury. This protective fury, the Verdani said slowly, it allows physical interaction with phase-shifted entities? We think so, Amanda replied. The emotional state seems to alter our bioelectric field in a way that brings us into phase with the Vorthak. Ambassador Zethka was studying the data intently. Dr. Walsh, do you understand what this means? If humans can reliably resist Vorthak attacks, you could save countless worlds. Millions of beings across the galaxy live in terror of these creatures. We're willing to help, Amanda said, but we need to understand more about how it works. Just then, their proximity alarms began sounding. Lisa ran to the sensor station and her face went pale. 3 Vorthak signatures approaching from the north. They're moving fast. The alien representatives immediately began backing toward the exits, their various forms of panic clear, despite their different physiologies. Wait, Amanda called to them. This is a perfect opportunity to observe and document the process. Observe? Counselor Hetrim's voice rose to a frightened hiss. Those creatures will kill us all. Not if we handle this right, Amanda said calmly. She looked at her teammates. Lisa, get your equipment ready to record everything. Kyle, monitor all bioelectric readings. Jake, document the encounter for the Galactic database. What about us? Ambassador Zethka asked, his musical voice shaking with fear. Stay behind us and watch, Amanda replied. You're about to see how humans deal with bullies. Through the window they could see 3 dark shapes moving through the forest toward the research station. The Vorthak were coming, drawn by the large gathering of potential prey. Amanda felt the familiar surge of protective anger rising in her chest. These creatures had terrorized the galaxy for too long. They had destroyed entire civilizations and left countless worlds empty and lifeless. But not today. Today they were about to learn that humans don't back down from a fight, especially when innocent lives are at stake. She walked toward the door, her teammates beside her and a dozen terrified aliens watching from behind. The most dangerous predators in the galaxy were about to meet their match, and all it would take was the willingness to stand up and say no. Amanda walked outside the research station with her team right behind her. The 3 Vorthak were moving through the trees like dark clouds, their blue lights pulsing with hunger. The alien representatives stayed inside, watching through the windows with obvious terror. Remember, Amanda said quietly to her teammates, confidence is key. Don't think about fighting them. Think about protecting everyone behind us." Lisa nodded, her scanner ready to record everything. Kyle held his bioelectric monitor steady despite his shaking hands. Jake was filming the entire encounter for the Galactic database. The first Vorthak emerged from the tree line. It was larger than the one Amanda had encountered before, with more blue lights scattered throughout its dark form. The creature paused when it saw the humans standing in the open, not running or hiding. "That's right," Amanda said in a firm voice, stepping forward. "You're not welcome here." The Vorthak tilted what might have been its head, as if confused by her response. Behind it, the other two creatures appeared, flanking their leader. All three began moving toward the humans with their usual fluid motion. Amanda felt the familiar cold touch as they approached, the draining sensation that came with being near these energy vampires. But underneath the fear, anger was building. These things had no right to terrorize innocent people. They had no right to exist as predators feeding on the fear of others. "Go away," she said loudly, raising her hand in a stopping gesture. "Leave this place and don't come back." The lead, Vorthak, actually stopped moving. Its blue lights flickered as if it was having trouble understanding what was happening. The other alien species had always run from them or frozen in terror. This human was giving them orders. Behind Amanda, Kyle was getting amazing readings on his scanner. "Your bioelectric field is expanding," he whispered. "It's like you're projecting a protective barrier." The second Vorthak tried to move around Amanda to get to the research station, but Lisa stepped into its path. "I don't think so," she said firmly, pointing directly at the creature. "Back off." The Vorthak recoiled as if Lisa had hit it with a weapon. Its form became less solid, wavering like smoke in the wind. Jake was still filming, his voice steady despite his fear. "This is incredible. The creatures are responding to simple verbal commands and gestures." The third Vorthak tried a different approach, attempting to phase through the ground to get behind the humans. But as soon as it got close to Kyle, who was thinking about protecting his research data and his friends, the creature was forced back to the surface. "They can't phase past us when we're in protective mode," Kyle observed, his scientific mind working even in the middle of the confrontation. Amanda took another step forward, her anger growing stronger. "You've caused enough suffering. The galaxy doesn't belong to you anymore." All three Vorthak began backing away, their dark forms becoming less distinct. The blue lights inside them were dimming as if they were losing power. But as they retreated, something unexpected happened. The lead Vorthak made a sound, a deep humming noise that seemed to carry across vast distances. Within seconds, Amanda's communicator crackled with Jake's voice from inside the station. "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy," he said excitedly. "Vorthak everywhere are making the same sound. It's like they're communicating with each other." The three creatures in front of them continued their retreat, but the humming sound grew louder. Amanda realized they weren't just running away. They were calling for help, or maybe warning others about the humans. "Let them call," she said defiantly. "Let every Vorthak in the galaxy know that humans won't be their victims." The creatures disappeared into the forest, their energy signatures fading on Lisa's scanner, but the humming continued, a low vibration that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The alien representatives slowly emerged from the research station, their various forms of amazement clear despite their different physiologies. "Remarkable," Ambassador Zethka said, his musical voice filled with wonder. "You made them retreat without any weapons at all." "Just attitude," Amanda replied. "The same attitude that got humans through millions of years of evolution on a dangerous planet." Over the next several hours, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The humming sound had been heard on hundreds of worlds, followed by mass Vorthak retreats. But more importantly, Jake began receiving ancient data files from various alien civilizations. "You need to see this," Jake said, displaying a holographic image in the main lab. It showed cave paintings from a planet in the Andromeda sector, created by a species that had gone extinct thousands of years ago. The paintings depicted humanoid figures facing dark, shadowy creatures. The humanoids had their arms outstretched in gestures that looked exactly like the stopping motions Amanda and her team had used. "This species fought Vorthak too," Kyle said, studying the images. But they lost. More data files arrived throughout the day. Ancient artwork from dozens of civilizations showed similar scenes, beings standing up to dark creatures fighting back instead of fleeing. But in every case, the civilizations had eventually been destroyed. What made them different from us? Amanda wondered aloud. Ambassador Zethka provided the answer. Time, he said sadly. The Vorthak are patient hunters. They would attack a species repeatedly over generations, feeding on their fear each time. Eventually, the survival instinct would overcome the fighting instinct. The species would evolve to flee, rather than fight. Natural selection, Lisa understood. The ones who fought back died. The ones who ran away survived to have children. Exactly, the Silicoid representative chimed. Over thousands of years, the Vorthak shaped the evolution of every species they encountered. They eliminated the fighters and left only those programmed to submit. Kyle was studying genetic data on his computer. But humans evolved on Earth, completely isolated from Vorthak influence. We never learned to stop fighting. More than that, Jake added, pulling up historical data about Earth. Humans actually got better at fighting over time. We developed weapons, tactics, and the ability to work together against common threats. Amanda began to understand the bigger picture. The Vorthak have been gardening the galaxy. They've been cultivating prey species by eliminating anyone who might resist them. Until now, Counselor Hetrim said. Humans are the first species they've encountered that retained the will to fight. The revelation was staggering. For millions of years, these energy vampires had been shaping galactic evolution, turning every species into perfect victims. They had created a galaxy of prey animals, all programmed by natural selection to submit to superior predators. But they had never encountered Earth humans, who had spent their entire evolutionary history learning to fight back against impossible odds. Amanda looked at the alien representatives, seeing them with new understanding. They weren't cowards. They were the products of millions of years of Vorthak influence, bred to be victims. We can teach you, she said quietly. It won't be easy, and it might take generations, but we can help you remember how to fight. Ambassador Zethka's expression was hopeful but doubtful. Is it possible to overcome millions of years of evolutionary programming? Maybe not for your generation, Amanda admitted, but your children, especially if they grow up around humans, might be different. Jake was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. I'm getting requests from over 50 colonies. They all want human protection specialists sent to their worlds. Protection specialists, Lisa laughed. Is that what we're calling ourselves now? Amanda smiled, but her expression quickly became serious. This is bigger than just protecting colonies. We're talking about changing the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. Kyle was studying the bioelectric data from their encounters. The Vorthak aren't just predators. They're a force of evolutionary pressure that's been controlling the development of intelligent life for eons. And now that pressure is gone, Amanda realized. With humans actively resisting them, other species might start to remember what it feels like to fight back. The implications were enormous. If humanity could teach other species to resist the Vorthak, it would represent the first time in galactic history that prey had turned on their predators. But Amanda also understood that this was just the beginning. The Vorthak wouldn't give up easily. They had invested too much time and effort in creating their perfect galaxy of victims. The real war was just starting. 3 weeks after the revelation about the Vorthak, the research station on Kepler 442b had become the most important place in the galaxy. Ships arrived daily, carrying representatives from dozens of species, all desperate to learn what humans called the technique. Amanda barely recognized her quiet research lab anymore. It had been expanded 3 times to accommodate visitors, and the landing area outside looked like a small spaceport. Aliens of every description walked the halls, studying human behavior, and taking notes on everything from how humans ate breakfast to how they argued with each other. Claire Rodriguez, Earth's top ambassador, had arrived a week earlier to take charge of the diplomatic situation. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had spent 30 years negotiating with alien civilizations. Even she seemed overwhelmed by the scope of what was happening. "We have requests from over 200 colonies," Claire told Amanda during their morning briefing. "Everyone wants human instructors. The demand is 10 times what we can possibly supply." Amanda sipped her coffee and looked out the window at a group of young Zentorians practicing confident postures under Lisa's instruction. "How many humans are available for this kind of work?" "Maybe a few thousand across all human colonies," Claire replied. "Not nearly enough. We need to find a way to teach the teachers." Kyle had been working on that exact problem. His research had shown that the key to resisting Vorthak wasn't just human genetics, but human cultural attitudes. The willingness to stand up to bullies, to protect others even at personal cost, to refuse submission even when facing superior force. "The younger aliens are having more success," Kyle reported. "Their brains are more flexible, less locked into fear patterns." This was true. Amanda had watched a teenage Rigelian named Vex 7 successfully repel a holographic Vorthak simulation by copying Lisa's protective stance. When Vex 7 thought about defending her younger siblings, her bioelectric patterns changed enough to trigger the simulation's retreat protocol, but adult aliens struggled with the concept. Millions of years of evolution had hardwired them to submit to superior predators. Even when they understood the theory, their instincts worked against them. "It's like teaching fish to fly," complained Dr. Technol, an elderly Andorian scientist, who had been trying to master the technique for days. "My mind understands, but my body refuses to cooperate." Amanda felt sorry for him and others like him. They wanted desperately to protect their people, but their evolutionary programming was too strong to overcome. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jake had been monitoring communications when he picked up a distress call from a cargo ship in the Epsilon sector. The ship was under attack by a pack of 6 Vorthak, and the crew was trapped in their emergency shelter. "The ship has a mixed crew," Jake reported. 3 humans, 2 Zentorians, and an Andromedian captain. "Humans on board?" Amanda asked. "Yes, but they're all injured from an engine explosion earlier today. The aliens are on their own." Amanda, Lisa, and Kyle exchanged glances. This was exactly the situation they had been preparing for. They had spent weeks teaching alien students how to resist Vorthak attacks, but this would be the first real test under combat conditions. "Patch us through to the ship," Amanda ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of a cargo ship's emergency shelter. 2 young Zentorians crouched in the corner while an older Andromedian captain paced nervously by the door. Through the shelter's small window, dark shapes could be seen moving in the ship's corridors. "This is Captain Vel Throne of the merchant vessel Starrunner," the Andromedian said when he saw Amanda's face. "We are under attack by Vorthak. Our human crew members are unconscious in the medical bay." "Captain, listen to me carefully," Amanda said in her calmest voice. "You can fight these creatures. You've learned how humans do it. Now you need to apply that knowledge." "But I am not human," Captain Velthrone replied, his voice shaking with fear. "I do not have your protective instincts. You have crew members who need your protection," Lisa interjected from off-screen. "Focus on that. Think about keeping your people safe." One of the young Zentorians, a female named Clix9, slowly stood up. Amanda had met her during training sessions. She was barely adult by her species standards, but she had shown promise in the simulations. "I remember the lessons," Clix9 said quietly. "Stand tall. Project confidence. Think about protecting others." "Very good," Amanda encouraged. "Now the Vorthak are feeding on your fear, but fear mixed with determination to protect others becomes something they cannot digest." Captain Velthrone was watching Clix9 with amazement. The young Zentorian was standing straighter, her normally timid posture replaced by something that looked almost human in its defiance. "The injured humans in medical," Clix9 said, her voice growing stronger. "They cannot protect themselves. It is up to us." "That's right," Kyle said from his monitoring station. "I'm reading your bioelectric signature through the ship's sensors. Your patterns are shifting toward the protective frequencies." On the screen, they could see one of the Vorthak approach the emergency shelter. Its dark form pressed against the door, and frost began forming on the metal as it drained energy from the ship's systems. Captain Velthrone stumbled backward, his natural fear response taking over, but Clix-9 stepped forward and placed her hand flat against the door. "No," she said firmly. "You cannot have them. This is our ship, and these are our people." The Vorthak on the other side of the door recoiled as if it had been shocked. Through the window, they could see its form become less solid, wavering like smoke. "It's working," the other young Zentorian exclaimed. "She's making it back away." Encouraged by Clix-9's success, Captain Velthrone found his courage. He moved to stand beside her, thinking about his responsibility as captain to protect his crew. "I have been commanding ships for 40 years, he said, his voice gaining strength. "I will not let my crew be harmed by these parasites." Amanda watched with pride as the alien captain's posture changed. His shoulders squared, his head lifted, and his voice carried the authority of someone who refused to be intimidated. The Vorthak outside the shelter made the same glass-breaking scream that Amanda had heard during her first encounter. Through the ship's cameras, they could see all 6 creatures retreating toward the cargo bay. "They're leaving," Captain Velthrone said in amazement. "The creatures are actually leaving." "You did it," Amanda told them. "You proved that any species can learn to resist them." The success on the Star Runner changed everything. Within hours, Jake was broadcasting the footage to colonies across the galaxy. For the first time, non-humans had successfully defended themselves against Vorthak using human techniques. The psychological impact was enormous. If a young Zentorian and an aging Andromedian captain could fight off 6 Vorthak, then maybe other aliens could learn to do the same. Requests for training increased by thousands% overnight. More importantly, alien governments began establishing their own training programs, using human instructors as consultants rather than depending entirely on human protection. "This is how it spreads," Claire observed, watching news broadcasts from across the galaxy, one success story at a time. Amanda nodded, but she also felt a growing sense of responsibility. Humanity had given the galaxy hope, but they had also made themselves targets. The Vorthak would not accept the loss of their prey species without a fight. The war for the galaxy's future was about to begin in earnest. 6 months had passed since Amanda Walsh first slapped a Vorthak in the forests of Kepler 442b. The galaxy was a very different place now. Amanda stood in the main hall of the new Interspecies Resilience Institute, watching a class of mixed-species children practice confidence exercises. A young human girl named Beth was showing a Rigelian boy how to stand up straight and project authority. Nearby, a teenage Zentorian was teaching an Andromedian child how to say no with conviction. The children made it look easy. They had grown up together, learned together, and most importantly, they had never been taught that certain species were supposed to be afraid of others. "The 3rd generation is even better," Kyle observed, joining Amanda by the observation window. "These kids don't have any of the old fear programming. They're natural fighters." Through the Institute's windows, Amanda could see the thriving colony that had grown up around their original research station. Beings from dozens of species lived and worked together, all united by the knowledge that they no longer had to live in fear. Lisa walked over from the training grounds, carrying reports from across the galaxy. "The latest statistics are amazing," she said. "Vorthak attacks are down 95% from last year. Most of the remaining incidents involve older, isolated populations that haven't received training yet." "What about the Vorthak themselves?" Amanda asked. "That's the interesting part," Jake said, approaching with his daily communications summary. "They're not just avoiding populated areas. Many of them are actually approaching human colonies peacefully." This was true, and it was the most surprising development of all. As the Vorthak found it harder to feed on fear and submission, their behavior had begun changing dramatically. Some groups had started showing up at the edges of human settlements, not to attack, but apparently just to observe. "Dr. Walsh," a familiar voice called from across the hall. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez was approaching with a small group of visitors. "I'd like you to meet some special guests." The visitors were unlike any aliens Amanda had ever seen. They were tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and gold. Their movements were fluid and confident, showing none of the nervous energy that characterized most galactic species. "These are representatives from the Etherian Collective," Claire explained. "They've been traveling for over a year to reach us." The lead Etherian stepped forward and spoke in a voice like singing crystals. "Dr. Walsh, we have come to thank you. Our species has not felt true peace for over 10,000 years. "I don't understand," Amanda replied. "We've never heard of the Etherian Collective. We have hidden ourselves in the furthest reaches of the galaxy," the Etherian explained. "We were the last species to maintain our fighting spirit when the Vorthak first appeared. For millennia, we have been hunted relentlessly because we refused to submit." Kyle's eyes widened with understanding. "You've been in hiding all this time?" "Yes, we are the last remnant of the warrior species that once filled this galaxy. When the Vorthak attacks began decreasing 6 months ago, we finally dared to hope." The second Etherian spoke up. "We have been monitoring galactic communications. The young ones from various species who train with humans are developing abilities we thought lost forever." "What kind of abilities?" Lisa asked. "The courage to explore, the will to create new things instead of just surviving, the desire to help others instead of just protecting themselves." The Etherian's voice carried deep emotion. "These are the traits that made our ancestors great before the Vorthak taught the galaxy to be afraid." Amanda felt a chill of realization. The Vorthak didn't just hunt other species, they eliminated the traits that make civilizations advance. "Exactly," the first Etherian confirmed. "For millions of years, they have kept the galaxy in a state of stagnation. Species could survive and maintain basic technology, but they could never grow beyond their fear." Jake was scanning through historical databases on his tablet. "That explains why galactic technology has barely advanced in the last million years. Everyone was too afraid to take risks or try new things." The implications were staggering. The Vorthak hadn't just been predators. They had been a force that prevented progress, kept entire civilizations trapped in patterns of fear and submission. But now that was changing. Lisa pulled up holographic displays showing data from across the galaxy. "Look at these innovation reports. New technologies, art forms, exploration missions, all from species that have received confidence training." On the displays, Amanda could see images of Zentorian artists creating bold new sculptures, Andromedian scientists proposing risky but potentially revolutionary experiments, and Regelian explorers volunteering for dangerous missions to uncharted star systems. "They're remembering how to dream," Amanda said softly. Claire nodded. "And it's accelerating. Every month we see more breakthrough discoveries, more creative solutions to old problems. It's like the galaxy is waking up from a very long nightmare." A communication alert chimed on Jake's device. "Speaking of breakthroughs," he said, reading the message. "The research team on New Geneva has made contact with a peaceful group of Vorthak. They want to try something unprecedented." "What kind of contact?" Amanda asked. "The Vorthak are trying to communicate. They're using bioelectric patterns similar to what we generate during confidence exercises." This was completely unexpected. The idea that Vorthak might be capable of peaceful communication had never occurred to anyone. "Put them through," Amanda said. The main display screen activated, showing the research facility on New Geneva. Dr. Tony Blake, one of Amanda's former students, appeared on screen along with several other humans and aliens. "Amanda, you need to see this," Tony said excitedly. "We have 3 Vorthak here who seem to be trying to learn human-style bioelectric patterns." Behind Tony, 3 familiar dark shapes hovered near the laboratory equipment. But these Vorthak looked different. Their blue lights pulsed in steady, almost peaceful rhythms, and their forms seemed more stable and less threatening. "They're not feeding," Kyle observed, studying the energy readings. "Their power levels are actually increasing, but not by draining other life forms." "How is that possible?" Lisa asked. Tony gestured to one of the Vorthak. "Show them what you showed us." The creature moved forward and began generating complex bioelectric patterns. Amanda's translation software struggled for a moment, then displayed text on the screen. Hunger. Ending. New patterns. Learning. Old way, wrong way. Amanda stared at the message in amazement. They're learning to feed on positive emotions instead of fear? It seems that way, Tony confirmed. When they're around confident, happy beings, they can absorb energy without causing harm. It's like they're feeding on the overflow of positive, emotional energy instead of draining life force. The Etherian representatives were vibrating with excitement, their crystalline voices harmonizing. This confirms our ancient legends. Before the great hunting began, some of our ancestors spoke of shadow beings who served as guardians rather than predators. Guardians, Amanda repeated. Beings who fed on the excess negative emotions of a community, keeping populations mentally healthy. The legends say they became corrupted over time, addicted to the stronger energies produced by terror. The Vorthak on the screen generated another message. Teaching. Others. New way. Spreading. Galaxy. Healing. Amanda felt tears in her eyes as she understood what was happening. Not only had humanity taught other species to resist the Vorthak, they had accidentally shown the Vorthak themselves a path back to their original nature. The balance is restoring itself, she said quietly. Predators becoming protectors, prey becoming confident, fear becoming courage. Claire put a hand on Amanda's shoulder. You slapped a monster and accidentally healed a galaxy. Amanda laughed through her tears. All I did was refuse to be a victim. Sometimes, Kyle said. That's the most powerful thing anyone can do. Through the Institute's windows, Amanda could see beings from dozens of species working together, learning together, growing together. Children played games that would have been impossible in the old galaxy, games that required courage and creativity instead of just caution. The Vorthak were still out there, but they were no longer the galaxy's nightmare. They were becoming its healers, feeding on negative emotions and helping communities stay mentally healthy. And it all started with one simple human reaction to a bully. A slap. The most basic expression of the human refusal to be intimidated had changed the course of galactic history. Amanda smiled as she watched a young Rigelian boy successfully convince a holographic Vorthak to back down by simply standing up straight and saying no, with conviction. The galaxy was finally learning to stand up for itself.